Another architecture design area that is important is the privacy and a comfortable waiting experience when visiting a bank office.
Yeah.
You work with one of Sweden's biggest banks, where you especially work with what you're saying, sound masking.
Yeah.
Tell us about that experience.
Well, when it comes to not only banks, but a lot of public spaces, what we see today is that they start to get modern design, which means they are all like open, like big lounges. And we do the old-fashioned way. If we went to the bank, you would take your number and you will wait, and then you would have like your own space with the bank person. It's not like that today, because everybody is in the same room, which means that everybody can hear everything. So the bank we're working with is Swedbank. So what we're doing for them is that when you're coming into any bank, no matter if it's small or large, there will always be the bank people. You will always have some sort of a number, and there is dedicated waiting areas where there is like magazines or coffee machine and sofas and so on. So what we're doing there is that we're building special sound roofs that we are putting above the waiting areas. And we do it with something that's called directional speakers. And directional speaker is a technology that we can actually calculate the spreading of the sound. So if the area where people are gonna be waiting is, let's say, 20 square meters or 40 square meters, then we know that also from the floor to the ceiling, we know how much it's gonna be, the sound is gonna be spread. So we're building, with the technology, we're building these unique roofs, and then we producing sound that would be take care of. It is like if you're standing talking with the bank person, and I'm like 3-4 meters away from you in this area, if there's no sound going on, I will be able to hear your personal number, your account number, and what your problems or your issues are, or whatever you're going to get solved. But when I'm under the sound roof, I can hear your mumbling, but I cannot hear, when it comes to understanding word, the consonants is what makes us understand the word. So we are actually tuning out the consonants. So I can hear your mumbling if I'm focused on that, but I cannot understand what you're talking about. So the sound that we produced is also branded, because this bank has like an old oak tree as a visual logo. So the bank have like oaks and other green things in the environment. So in the sound, we're also putting in nature sound and ambient music, which means that it's also very relaxing. People are stressing down, and you don't pay attention at all at the mumbling. Wow. And if you would you wouldn't understand the conversation.
Wow, it feels like with the sound you're bringing the brand alive. I love that experience. I could even feel it without hearing the sound.
Good. I think it's if it is a bank or an office space or shopping mall or whatever, there's always a brand behind, and the brand should be a part of the sound, even if it's like in a small way. It should always be there, because if you go to one bank offices and you go to another one in another town or in the same city, you would recognize yourself.
Yeah, and the feeling also, because if you see the visual logo of that bank, and you had that experience of calm and wood and so on, once you're looking at the image, that is the power of sound, that it evokes that amazing emotions back to you, and you feel a comfort. I absolutely love that. And
because I think it's important to also, if you work with sound, you could always, with the right sound, you could always make people think and feel that a room are bigger than it is, or smaller, and cleaner or whatever. So you could actually if you work with sound in the right way, I would say it's a little bit of a Harry Potter thing going on there, if you know what you're doing.
Yes, magic.
Actually, yeah, you could actually paint things with sound.
Yeah. As I said, like you can make the paintings or the elements in a room come alive.
Yeah.
They are sitting where they are, but that's the thing with our emotions, our imagination, like becomes alive.
And the sound affect us all the time. I mean, we are surrounded with sounds that we just take it for granted, you know, when your phone is ringing or a push signal that's telling you got an email or whatever. There is like so much communication going around all the time with sound that we never really talk about it, or we just take it for granted. It is what it is. Even if you're crossing a street, you know, you don't have to see if it's a red or green light. You could actually follow the sound if you're allowed to walk or not. But then you should look anyway, because there might be a car coming. But there's something else. So sound is something that is taking care of us all the time.
In many public spaces, people are expected to discuss private matters in an open environment with the risk of being overheard by others. But one of Sweden's largest banks, Swedbank, wants their customers to feel secure when discussing private financial matters. Lexter Sound Design was invited to create a solution that would reduce the risk of overhearing, but in a way that wouldn't imply major renovations. Lexter developed a concept with sound masking zones in the most vulnerable waiting areas at the bank. The sound masking is achieved by adding sounds that in different ways reduces the intelligibility of human speech. For example, making it harder to discern consonants, which are important to understand the meaning of a conversation. The sound is a varied and relaxing soundscape that fits the Swedbank brand, and it also helps to lead focus away from someone else's private conversation. The sound masking zones are isolated by using so-called sound showers. A sound shower is a speaker that emits sounds in a narrow tunnel rather than in all directions. That way, only the customers inside the sound masking zones can hear the soundscape, while staff and other people outside the zones are not disturbed by it. This is what it sounds like in a typical bank without sound masking.
Alternativt ett månadssparande på cirka 10% som överförs varje månad. Ja, men det låter bra.
And this is what it sounds like inside a sound masking zone. The sound masking zones make sharing private information safer. The solution is now implemented in more than 50 of Swedbank's offices around Sweden.